Well, welcome. We are ready to get started in our JA Trades Expo session. So thank you so much for joining us. We are excited to share with you in this session more on health emergency and medical services careers. We have a wonderful facilitator who will be speaking with you and sharing more about this career pathway in just a few minutes. I'm here representing JA Canada. You may have heard of us through one of our amazing 14 teams across our network. Pictured on the map here, you can see where JA is located across Canada. Just a few fun facts about us. Last year, we delivered over 445,000 student learning experiences across Canada, and we focus our learning on career readiness, financial literacy, and entrepreneurship. So we thank you for your support this far, and we look forward to continuing to support your journey in education, career exploration, and empowerment. Here are 3 different ways you can learn through JA, and perhaps you've heard about some of them. First, we have our JA campus, where you can learn from the comfort of your own home. You get to pick between some short interactive modules, or you can continue more formal classroom learning. We also have in-class presentations and events that are facilitated by mentors and leaders, as well as educators. Or perhaps you've taken one of the courses or the programs through one of our interactive events or hands-on learning experiences like our World of Choices. Maybe this is even what brought you to our Trades Expo today. We are certainly very grateful for the support of RBC, who believes in youth potential and has made our World of Choices possible. We are looking forward to connecting you today as youth with a career mentor in a specific field here, and hope that you have an opportunity to participate in some of the other sessions and or listen to the recordings after. Perhaps you've considered joining a skilled trade. Maybe you were inspired by the pipe welding or electrical drilling or birdhouse building activities that you might have done through one of JA's World of Choices summits or events. And I don't know if you're aware, but there is a huge growing demand of over 256,000 new skilled trades apprentices that are needed. And this is in the next 5 years in Canada. So jobs are available. They are careers that can be very fruitful and rewarding. And so we're just glad that you're here to learn more. So the question to you is, are you ready for that journey? Don't worry, we are here to support you and to help you learn and continue to explore. So without further ado, let's welcome Naomi Nania. Naomi is with the Alberta Health EMS, and we are so grateful to have her here today to share more with us. Over to you, Naomi.
Hello, everyone. Like Jennifer said, my name is Naomi Nania. I am an advanced care paramedic in Alberta with Alberta Health Services, and I've been doing this job for quite a long time. And I'm here today to talk a little bit about kind of a day in the life of what it would be like to be a paramedic if this is something that you're maybe interested in. So I have some slides that I'm going to go through, and then after that, I will leave it open to some questions and be able to hopefully answer them. This is obviously more focused on the Alberta paramedics, but I should be able to answer some questions in regards to other provinces as well. I'm just going to share my screen here. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, so like I said before, I am an advanced care paramedic with Alberta Health Services, and this is just some of the fun things that I get to do with my job. So not only have I been an paramedic with our ambulance service, I also have been able to be in front of the cameras and do some media relations work. I've also been a community paramedic. I've had the opportunity of working on some movie sets. I have done some high-angle rescue. I have done some industrial work, and kind of the list goes on. So I've been really fortunate to expand my job and not just work on the ambulance. So I'm going to go through some of these slides, and like I said, I'm more than happy to chat further about it if anyone has any questions. So, my current career, I am a public education officer with Alberta Health Services. So that job entails doing presentations like this. I've been focused in the last 2 years of specifically going to high schools and talking to high school students about the career and what it looks like, how to get into it, some of the educational requirements that are needed. And then again, doing things similar to this, where I'm again talking to people who might be interested, whether they're high school students or beyond. So what should someone know about the career of the profession? I think it's really important to understand that it is an ever-changing profession, and I think that's a good thing. We have been really fortunate, especially in Alberta, to have an increase in our scope of practice. So that means we have more and more skills and tools and equipment that we're able to use every year. So when I first started, the scope of practice was limited with some of the advanced skills that we can do. And today we are one of the most skilled and trained paramedics in the country and actually North America. So that's pretty cool to say. I think as well, so I am an advanced care paramedic, and I'll get into what that actually means. We have other paramedics called primary care paramedics. And so primary care paramedics have also had a really large increase in their scope of practice. So they're able to give more medications than they ever have. They're able to do some more advanced skills. And the hope is that will continue to grow. And again, we are looked at as healthcare professionals in our kind of large pool of other practitioners, and we're going to be able to do more things outside in the field. So I think it requires, as a paramedic, to be really personable, and that means able to talk to anyone in whatever way that is or whatever that means to you. So we always work as a team of two on an ambulance, and I always say there's a reason for that because my empathy looks very different than my partner's empathy. So whether that's because I've personally been through the struggle that my patient has, or I have a family member that has, that's why we always have a team of two. So the way I handle patient care could be different than my partner's, and I think that's really important. I think professional resiliency and fortitude is also really important. As you can imagine, with our job, there are things that we see that we would never hope that anyone would have to see. There's parts of our job that can be very stressful and can be very sad. But in the same breath, we also have the opportunity to truly save lives and to be able to go home after your shift to know that you've made a difference in someone's life, especially your patient's life, is pretty special and pretty important. And I don't think there's a lot of jobs out there that you can truly say that you can save a life in one of your shifts. So, like I had said before, I have witnessed and been a part of some things that, as you can expect when you're calling 911, can be very stressful. And knowing that, I think getting into this job, knowing that you need to take care of yourself as a person, on top of being professional and on top of trying to treat your patient the best that you can and to the best of your ability, but also know that your mental health is really important. And this is something that Alberta Health Services takes very seriously. We are really fortunate to have lots of opportunities to have further help or assistance, whether that's talking to a psychologist at any time during a shift, talking to your supervisors, or talking to your partners. So, kind of a little bit of a heavy start to the conversation, but I think it's really important to talk about because, going into this job, I would like to think that most people are aware of some of the things that we can see, but I don't think you really know until you've actually done the job. And so the more you can kind of prepare yourself for this career, and the more that you can make sure that you have those really good coping skills and strategies, the better you will be and the longer your career will be. So with this job, it is not always fast-paced, as you see in TV and movies. Those pictures are based off of reality, but sometimes, you know what, I might not even open some of my duty bags. I might just be there to provide education or a helping hand to a patient. Sometimes we're dealing with mental health crises, and so that takes a different kind of part of your brain and different skill set to deal with those kind of patients. So it is not always fast-paced. I think it's really important that when you start your shift that you are, we always say we always want a healthy paramedic coming to all of those calls. So starting your shift and being prepared for what the day is going to look like, and then finishing your shift off. We typically work, when it comes to rotation, we typically work a 4-day rotation. So 2-day shifts, then 2 night shifts, and have 4 full days off. So in those 4 full days off, it is our expectation. This is what our employer always says, that you're doing everything but this job. So you're finding things outside of this job that make you happy, so that when you do come back to this job, that you're healthy and ready to change a patient's life. So why did I choose this career? I wanted a job that provided me with flexibility. So from high school, I knew I did not want a desk job. I didn't want something where I was sitting at a desk 8 to 4, Monday to Friday. I wanted to do something in the field. So from high school, I was kind of looking at different opportunities that would provide me with that kind of space that I could kind of work outside of, 4 walls. I really enjoy fast-paced atmospheres. I was a lifeguard in high school, and so because of that, I kind of got the little taste of what a first responder would look like. And so again, I think it's a natural progression to kind of become a paramedic. And with that, so I'm from being a lifeguard, and then when I went into school to be a paramedic, obviously this job can be very fast paced. So I still enjoy that. I think most paramedics that get into this job kind of have that same mindset. And because of the fast paced environment, you have to be really quick on your feet, really good at multitasking a lot of the times, because sometimes it's just you and your partner working. But yeah, it can be a really fun job. I love the experiences that I've had as a paramedic on this job, just the cultural experiences, meeting different patients. I actually was having a conversation with a few coworkers about this, and just having those conversations with people who you maybe you wouldn't talk to outside of your job. And I've talked to war vets, I've talked to people who are new to Canada, and just letting them tell me what their life was like, or things that they've experienced. I think that is one of the best parts of my job, that I get to talk to a bunch of different people and kind of learn about them as well. Another reason why I chose this career is I really wanted to do something that involved medicine. I loved understanding how the body worked. Biology was something I really enjoyed in high school. Sports medicine was also something I really enjoyed. And so while I did that in high school, I wanted to kind of find a job that allowed me to kind of use those. So I always say that we are medical detectives. That is our job, is to truly investigate what is going on, and ask those questions so that we can try and figure out how we can help someone as a paramedic. So this is just a little bit of our career map, or our highway to become an advanced care paramedic. So specifically in Alberta, you need to start and become an emergency medical responder. So this is a certificate program that you can get done in anywhere from 8 to about 15 weeks. So you need a first aid and a CPR card to start, and you need to be 18 years old by the time you've graduated this program. So in Alberta, specifically in kind of those big areas like Edmonton and Calgary, it's a little hard to get a job as an EMR. There are some private services that do hire them, but you need your EMR to get into your PCP. So PCP is Primary Care Paramedic. That is a 1-year diploma. In Alberta specifically, SAIT, which is our technical school, they are one of the largest schools that offer this program. And during that 1 year, you will be doing kind of in-classroom stuff with the teacher, writing exams, but then the other part of it, you're going to be doing live scenarios, practicing those skills and the medication that you use, practicing with your fellow classmates, and then you get the opportunity to go on practicums and work with actual paramedics, and on the ambulance, as well as in the emergency room. So as an employer with Alberta Health Services, we are actively hiring primary care paramedics kind of all throughout the province. And if you choose, you can stay there as a PCP, or you can choose to become an advanced care paramedic, which is an additional 2 years. So that is the highest level. The advanced care paramedics can give all of the acute medication and all of the acute skills and equipment that we use. So at any point, if you wanted to stop, again, this is a little bit of a roadmap. So there's nothing saying you have to go and do them back to back, but those are kind of the schooling options specifically in in Alberta. So I always joke that a day in the life, there really isn't ever a typical day in the life, and I think that's why I got into this job. We usually start our shift by checking out our ambulance, chatting with our partner. Depending on where you're working, you might have a regular partner. And then within minutes, you could have a call. So that call, could be a pregnancy related call. It could be someone having abdominal pain. It could be a pediatric patient up to someone who's 105 years old. Usually our shifts are 12-hour shifts. And again, we work 2 days and then 2 nights, and then have those 4 full days off. There are lots of rotating shifts and different shifts out there as well. We have 8-hour shifts, we have 10-hour shifts, we have Monday to Friday shifts, we have just days, just nights. So specifically in Alberta, that's kind of how we work. We do have the opportunity to work in some standalone EMS halls, or what we call a super station, where you start your shift. There's about 30 ambulances. Your ambulance is stocked and ready to go and cleaned. And then throughout the day, you could be all throughout the city. And then you finish your shift off and drop off your ambulance, and it is cleaned and stocked for you for the next shift. Or we have the opportunity of working out of fire halls as well. So what was your career or journey like? So, like I said before, I was a lifeguard. That's kind of how I started. And then shortly after high school, I decided to do my EMR training. Once I did that, I went fairly immediately from my EMR to my PCP. And then while I was in school as a PCP, I was working as well. And then I took, I'd say, about 6 months off and worked primarily as a primary care paramedic in the rural setting and in the urban setting. And then after that, I applied and got into ACP school, and then continued working as a PCP all throughout ACP school. What do I wish I knew before getting into this career? I think I talked about this before. Not all shifts or even calls are super exciting and fast paced. Sometimes they are monotonous. You're doing calls that you can do almost daily, depending on the area or the city that you're working in. So it's not always like the movies like you typically see. Um, I always like to say, I think most paramedics that get into this are pretty A-type personality. So knowing that, we're pretty hard on ourselves. So I think if I could tell my younger self, I would for sure say to be a little more kind and gracious to myself, and understand that, we are not perfect. We can't fix everything. We will do the best that we can with the knowledge we have and the skills we have and the equipment we have. But sometimes, even with all of that, things don't go our way, or, a patient, unfortunately, does not survive. And so to not take that to heart, we have to be able to compartmentalize that so that, we can be the best paramedic for the next patient. So I love these slides here. This is what everyone thinks EMS is. So these pictures are obviously based off of reality. A lot of these are, I have taken some of these, and some of these are from events that I've been a part of. But this is obviously not reality. This is truly what a good paramedic is: someone who is compassionate, someone who is empathetic. We are dealing with patients who we might not understand their life choices. We are dealing with patients who are harming themselves or harming others. And we have to be able to treat everyone equally. Sometimes we have to deal with people who are criminals. We have to deal with people who, again, aren't making life decisions that we necessarily agree with. And being a paramedic, we have to be able to put that aside and treat everyone with respect and equally. And I think that will really makes a good paramedic. So I can leave this up here for a few minutes. These are just some of our QR codes that take you directly to our Alberta Health Services page, and just talk a little bit more about what it is to be an EMR or a PCP or an ACP. So I can leave this up at the end, or you're welcome to take a screenshot of this, and we can go back to this later. Okay. So I'm going to now leave it open to anyone that might have any questions. I know I kind of went through that fairly quickly. Another thing that I kind of wanted to touch on as well, when it comes to the education, There are a few things from high school that are requirements right now, especially in SATE. So if you are a high school student, some of the things that we are looking for is your English 30-1, 30-2, math 20-1 or 20-2, and then a science 30, preferably biology. And we're just wanting a passing grade of those. And that's what you would need when you go into that PCP. So just a little bit of a heads up if that's something, again, career-wise that you're thinking of, and you are a high school student, these are the things that we are wanting and needing right now. Things can change, school requirements can change, but as of right now, there's a minimal requirement of those educational marks. Yeah, and I will leave it up to any questions that someone may have.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Naomi. And please do post questions in the chat. If you have questions, there is a Q&A section there that you can pop a question in that we can ask Naomi. While we're waiting for those to pop in, I just wanted to really thank you. It was so interesting to learn more about a career in EMS and for you sharing more about your work. And I really liked that you shared and talked about how the primary care paramedics are trained so that they can provide the care and medicine that's so critical in emergency situations. Oftentimes, I'm sure you're the only one on site for a little bit, right? And or until you get to the hospital or wherever you have to go. So that is really important, and I think good for us as public to know as well that we're in good hands if the EMS shows up. I have to ask as well, working on movie sets, is that to treat the stunt doubles or support the crew and actors?
Both. So I have been really fortunate to work on some pretty big movies here in Alberta, and mainly I'm with the stunt doubles the majority of the day. But I have had to work on the actors as well, depending on what's going on.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's if you've never been a part of it, just kind of being in the atmosphere of how movies are made is really interesting and fascinating, and they're long days. But yeah, it's just one of the fun aspects of being a paramedic where you kind of, get to go into to different avenues. I'm not necessarily working on the ambulance. So yeah. Now, Jennifer,
great,
you brought up
great.
a really good point that I didn't talk about it, but I think it's really important as well. And I think this is just for the public. I think there is a misinterpretation of who paramedics are when it comes to, medicine or how we kind of fit. And so to be a paramedic, we are really fortunate to have a lot of the skills, background, education to do skills that are done in an operating room, skills that are done in an emergency room, and we get to do that in the field. So I have done things that are typically done in an operating room on the side of a highway and someone's like dark, dingy basement on a football field, you name it. So I think that's also one of the fun aspects of this job is that we truly can save a life before we get to the hospital. And again, it's usually never done in between four walls. It's usually in some really odd areas sometimes.
Yeah, amazing, amazing versatility, adaptability, and resilience. So thank you. There is a question here. Considering patient mortality, what happens if a patient passes in a traumatic situation? How are EMS supported in this case?
Yeah, so I'll speak specifically in Alberta. I'm assuming it's going to be similar in other provinces, but we have the authority to call the time of death. So depending on where the situation is, and what we've done, sometimes if a patient is there's certain criteria that we would not be providing care. For the most part, we would be either trying to resuscitate someone on scene or as we're driving to the hospital, resuscitating someone. Again, very dependent if we are in someone's home or somewhere outside of a hospital. We would do what we needed to do, and then we would call time of death, and then it's kind of something organized either through RCMP or police to get our medical examiners to come to the patient's home. But yeah, we are the ones and have the authority to do that.
Super. Thank you for that answer, and thank you for posting that question as well. Um, I really liked too that you shared the importance of mental health and you shared some insights on why you work in twos um, for each other, but also to support your patients and so that you can have an empathetic approach. Are there requirements in situations where there's been extreme trauma that you've been exposed to for counseling and or other services or time off the job?
Yeah, so every situation is different. Something that might affect me might not affect my partner or vice versa. And so knowing that and having that relationship with your partner to say, hey, that really affected me, that really upset me for whatever reason. We have the opportunity immediately after the call to do a debrief with, we have mental health support that are specific paramedics. And then we also have trained psychologists as well that work specifically with our team. And if we needed to book off the shift for the rest of the shift, that can be done immediately through our supervisors. And a lot of the times, our supervisors, even if we're not calling and they know that it might have been a tough call, they're calling us to say, "Hey, do you want to talk about it?" It's never something that is forced because some people don't. They're fine. They don't want to talk about it, or that's just how they are handling things. Is they might want to just give it some time and then maybe talk about it the next day. But yeah, that's something that's paramount for sure, and especially in the last 5 years that we take very seriously.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. Question that's popped up here. Can you tell us about an experience that gives you motivation to continue being a paramedic? And they have, if you're
Uh,
comfortable answering.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the situation, I'm not going to call it a situation, one of the days or shifts that I will probably always remember for the rest of my career. And there's lots of them. I've done this job for 19 years now, and 18 of those have been patient care related years. But I call it kind of the circle of life. And so when I first started my shift with my partner, as a partner I worked with quite regularly, the first call that we went to was for a young person in cardiac arrest. So very serious, right out of the time of starting. It was within 5 minutes of us starting, and we ended up going to a 20-something that unfortunately had overdosed on drugs, and their family called us. We did everything in our power. We used all of the medications that we could, all of the advanced airway and skills, and unfortunately, that patient did not survive. So that was a very tough call, having to talk to the family members and let them know that, we tried everything and we couldn't do anything else. And so once that call finished, we finished our paperwork, cleaned up our truck. Within, again, a couple minutes, we got a second call, and that second call was to someone who was in labor. And so we went to this person's house. We didn't have a lot of notes. When we got there, the mom was actively pushing, and we knew that we didn't have time to put them in the back of the ambulance to start transporting. So we set ourselves up, and we delivered a baby, and we delivered a healthy, beautiful baby boy. So to bring life into the world, or assist the mom to bring life into the world, was a true miracle. And just to see how happy this new family was, and to see this brand new baby within the matter of pretty much 4.5, 5 hours of my shift, I saw the circle of life. So I don't think there's a lot of careers out there that you can say that that can happen. So it obviously started very sad and tragic, but within a couple hours, we got to experience a true miracle. So I would say that's probably a shift or a call I'll remember for the rest of my career.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for sharing that. I like how you've described it. And similar to what you've just shared, a student's asking the question if things have ever happened that are so scary that they do stick with you all your
Yeah.
career.
Yeah,
So,
no, I have calls that I can remember as a student. I have calls that I started this job rurally, and because I worked in the rural setting, you're with patients for kind of longer periods of time. And I still remember those calls. And to say that I remember them, they don't affect me. It's not like, it's a trauma that, I have like triggering feelings towards it, but I will probably always remember them. I have, statements or things that patients have said to me that will stick with me probably for the rest of my life. And I mean that in a good way. Just, things that will keep me motivated, and things that I remember from patients that they said to me that just, were really heartfelt, and same thing from family members. So, yeah, I for sure do.
super. Thank you for sharing. You shared that you started as a lifeguard in high school,
Yeah.
and that led to the journey of where you are now. Are there other professions that you see people trend from into paramedics?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's only natural. Someone who is maybe a ski patrol, lifeguards, um, someone with a military background. We are really fortunate when someone, whether they're in the reserve or they've actually fought overseas, to have them become paramedics, or they have a lot of the same training, and then there's just some upgrades that they have to do. We are really fortunate to have members of either the reserve or people who have actively fought in wars. Their backgrounds, their work ethic, their attention to detail is paramount, and so we're really lucky to have those people as paramedics. We have people who started out as not necessarily registered nurses, but LPNs, so licensed practical nurses who have come over. Some of the education can be transferred over, so you're not having to do the full education as a paramedic. People from different countries that have had different jobs in paramedicine or other medical careers have come over, and unfortunately, because it's such a specific job and is a very specific type of medicine, even if you were a doctor or a nurse in a different country or even in our own country, you still have to do the education to be a paramedic. But there are opportunities to use some of your background, and you might not have to do all of the same courses. So.
That's really interesting. And I can see the connections between those professions that you've shared and why they would be really good as a paramedic. So hadn't thought about people from military or from experiences, overseas where they have actually
Hmm.
been frontline.
Yeah.
And of course would be amazing, amazing
Yeah.
paramedics.
Yeah.
You talked on some of the essential skills or transferable skills that are needed, like being adaptive and responsive, being a problem solver. Can you expand on some other skills that students could start to potentially build and develop now if they want to pursue a career in paramedics down the road?
I think someone who, again, enjoys or is fascinated with the body, how the body works, science, whether it's a, chemistry background or a biology background, the chemistry side of it is learning how the drugs work and why they work. Someone with like an artistic background, using your brain in a way that is different than someone who might have more of a science or analytical background. Those are also really valuable paramedics. We have, again, a wide range of people with different personalities. And all in all, I think we all kind of come and do this job for one main reason, and that's obviously because we either really enjoy helping people, and that's, innate in us, or we like to be those problem solvers and be able to, see a problem and know that we have a solution and we have the skills to fix that problem. So again, even someone with like a math background or someone who really enjoys numbers, we have to be really good and fast on our feet when it comes to that because we have to be using different medications and different dosages. And so saying that from high school, I was not a super strong math student. That's not my background. So math is not something that like advanced math is not necessarily used in our job. But yeah, I would say having like a strong background in science is helpful, but it again is not necessary. We have again a wide range of people with different backgrounds, with different experiences, and that's I think why we're really lucky in this profession because you can get a different paramedic every single time, and yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
Great, great advice and recommendations there. Um, Thinking about the community and the area that you work in as a paramedic, is there some specialized local training? So, for example, your beautiful background with all of the mountains, with the water, are you trained to deal with emergency situations based on the environment that you're working in?
That's a great question. I don't know if I've ever been asked that. No, I think we all have very similar training, even just throughout the country. Um, Now, in different parts of the country, maybe they might have more specialized training in like water rescue. We again are going to be leaning on our other first responders with like the fire department and the police department, possibly. We do have opportunities to do some courses, and we have some specific people that work for us that are on specialty teams. So I think if you join a specialty team, you're going to have more opportunities to do some of those different skills. So like rock climbing, not rock climbing, but like using like rappelling and using those skills. Our tactical team, they have the opportunity to do that. And so specifically, if you are a tactical paramedic that works with our SWAT team, you were given the same skills and the same training as our tactical members, and so they do rappelling, they do lots of high angle rescue. They're doing, those specific courses. We also have specialists that work with the fire department very closely, so they have additional training with chemicals and hazardous materials that we don't have as just like a regular paramedic that works on a regular ambulance. So depending on the specialty team, I think, yeah, there's opportunities out there that could be specific to that.
Great. So you mentioned a couple other teams that you would work with, police, with fire. Are there others that you would interact with that people may not think that you have working partnerships or relationships with when you're out on the field?
Yeah, so we always say that, we kind of wear two different hats. We wear like a medical professional hat, so we are closely associated with nurses and doctors, and are transferring care to them when we go to the hospital. But then we're also first responders, so we do really work closely with our fire departments and our police departments. At any point, they can call us, and vice versa, we can call them, or we all come together to calls. Rurally, we are really fortunate to work with our Star Airs ambulance and some private air ambulance, and so we'll see them more in kind of outside city settings. Yeah, I'd say those are probably the biggest teams. And now, specifically within that, there's lots of specialty teams within police and fire that we might work with depending on the situation as well. So yeah, I would say just in general, police and fire, are close partners for sure.
Good, good. And it's great that you have a team. I'm sure that also helps you on the field to feel a little more safe. Are there ever any conditions where you don't feel safe in your day-to-day job?
Um, we are fortunate that at any point with our like radio and dispatch system, we can call police at any time. If when the dispatcher is receiving the 911 call, if there's anything that they are hearing or that is being said to them that might sound suspicious or that might be a danger, we will not go into those calls until it is clear with the police, or we'll go in with the police. And I think that it's like that throughout all the provinces. It's not just in Alberta that we do this. We wear bulletproof vests. We have special helmets if we're going into situations or like car accidents or um, uh, yeah, anything that might be a danger to us, we have specialized equipment that we carry with us on the ambulance, and then our vests that we wear every single day on every single call. Again, we all carry cell phones and radios with us for our own safety. We are constantly being checked in by dispatch to make sure that they know where we are, and we have GPS tracking systems, so our safety is for sure paramount. I'd like to say that most people that are calling 911, especially when they're asking for a paramedic, they want our help, and so we're not usually looked at as a danger, or for the most part, people want to see us and like to see us. So, but yeah, there's for sure been situations in my career where situations have turned sideways, and there's training that we do as well as paramedics in schooling and then on the job when it comes to our safety and making sure that we are. As safe as we can be with the equipment that we have and the knowledge we have.
Perfect. Important for you, I'm sure, to do your best work to make sure that you feel safe. Um, Couple more quick questions.
Yeah.
So you've got the ambulance in the background there. Is that your primary mode of transportation, or are there other ways that you actually get to the sites and where you need to go?
So the ambulance is what you would see for the most part. We also have something called a PRU, and so those PRUs have single paramedics, usually advanced care paramedics that work on them. A lot of our specialty teams drive them, so they're the same kind of coloring, but they're Yukons or SUVs of sorts. So you'll see those for sure on the road. During summer months, we have a team that is a bike team specifically. Uh, Again, during the summer months. So any kind of event where there's lots of people, lots of crowds where we might not be able to get an ambulance close to them. We have the bike team that will be around and they have equipment on them so they can provide care until an ambulance can get close to them. That's another vehicle of choice. We have at the airport, we used to have segways and bikes there because, as you can imagine, the airport has thousands of people coming and going throughout the day. So it's like its own small little city. So we have paramedics that are stationed out of there. And we have our own flight team. So, somewhat similar to STARS Air Ambulance, we have our own paramedics that are flying critical patients all throughout Alberta into BC and Saskatchewan and vice versa. They're coming in as well. So that's another mode of transport. We have a really fun golf cart that we use during our stampede, our Calgary Stampede that you'll see in our parades, which again is a great mode of transport because we have field hospitals at big events like that. So we can transport people with our little it's like an extended golf cart that has a stretcher in it. So that's kind of cool. But I would say that for the most part, those are kind of the modes of transport. The most common and often one you'll see is the ambulance, just like in the picture in the background.
Super, super. Sounds like there's lots of options, though, lots of fun
Yeah.
vehicles. Last question. So technology is evolving quickly and rapidly, and in many sectors, it's transforming how work is done. Does technology show up in paramedics? And if so, how?
For us, for technology, the biggest thing is our dispatch system. So we have a computer system that is in all of our ambulances. It's our tracking system. It's our mapping system. It is live to our dispatch. So everything that is being said on the 911 call is being transferred to us. So we kind of have an idea of what to expect or what we're going into. By no means does that ever mean that that is the truth. Sometimes we go into something not expecting it or vice versa. So that's something that we use for technology. Again, our radios and telephones, like cell phones that we carry with us, are ever evolving. And then our paperwork system is obviously done not through pen and paper anymore. It is all done on our computers. So our patient care records are all done there. We have the option now of kind of being connected to the hospital so we can actually see patients' charts. So their past medical history, their allergies that might have, things that maybe a patient couldn't tell us or doesn't know about when it comes to their own personal health. We have the option now of looking at that. So that's really important. And that's something that we just got within the last, I'd say, year. So that's a big piece of technology that is, again, ever evolving and that we hope that we will be able to use for a long time because it's super helpful outside of the hospital setting.
Great, great. There is one last question. You've probably spoken a little bit to it. I'm going to ask this here. AI has been clinically shown to be effective in medical diagnostics. So do you see a role for this in scope of a paramedic's role when initially responding to patients in distress?
I don't know if we will see that in real time with us in front of patients. I think we will see that more in settings once we have transported patients to a hospital, or even maybe before we get to a patient and they're at like a medical clinic, whether the physicians are using something like that. It's hard to say, right? Technology, like you said, is ever changing. We don't know how that will fit in. I think with our skills and knowledge, we would like to, continue that and have that autonomy of being able to make those decisions and, the education that we're given and, using our own brains, we would like to continue doing that. But I think because technology is ever expanding, I think that'll only be an asset to us. I just don't know what that's going to look like right now.
Great answer to what we really don't know. So that's a very, very good way to wrap up our session. There's lots that's continuing to evolve, but this has been incredible. And thank you so much for this informative and inspiring session and for answering a series of questions and for doing a wonderful presentation. We know that success really can mean so many different things to everyone. And so we just congratulate you and all of your successes and your coworkers. It's amazing work you're doing. And to the students that are on the line, we want to encourage you to just consider this as a really viable opportunity and a pathway that, if it interests you, to start finding out a little bit more and exploring options through other workshops, webinars, and information that you can gather. So thank you. For anyone on the line, if you can do a quick poll to tell us and share your feedback with us, that would be great. And otherwise, we will wrap up this session. So thank you again, Naomi. Wonderful. Appreciate your time and all the best in your good work. Stay safe.
Thank you so much. See you later.